Mountains swallow armies. Narrow passes turn veterans into corpses. Summer heat becomes a weapon. One man stands on a roof the night before battle and tells his fighters they will be born today and die today for their homeland. 24 hours later, 30,000 Ottoman soldiers march into a trap, and only 6,000 walk out alive. This is not legend. This is 1822. The Peloponnese, Dervanakia Pass. The Greeks call it the Little Passes. The Ottomans will call it catastrophe. You are standing in Argos in July 1822. 1 year into the Greek Revolution, the Ottoman Empire has sent Mahmud Dramali Pasha south with the largest army Greece has seen in over a century. 30,000 men, 8,000 cavalry, veterans from the campaign against Ali Pasha, cannons, supplies, orders to crush the rebellion, relieve Nafplion, retake Tripoli. Dramali swept through eastern Greece unopposed, razed Thebes, left Athens alone because it already surrendered, no resistance at the passes of Megaris. Acrocorinth abandoned without a fight, mid-July. He reaches Corinth, marries the widow of the murdered Ottoman commander, calls a war council. Yusuf Pasha of Patras gives him sound advice. Stay in Corinth, build naval forces in the Gulf, isolate the Morea, then advance. Dramali ignores it. He is confident. The Greeks seem terrified. He marches south toward Argolis. 24th of July. Dramali pushes through the narrow defile called Dervanakia. The word comes from Turkish, Dervan, mountain pass. He leaves no guards behind. Posts no forces at the other defiles that expose his flanks. Reaches Argos. The Greek provisional government has already fled to ships. The siege of Nafplion abandoned just as the garrison was about to surrender. Panic everywhere. But Dramali makes two fatal mistakes. First, he does not secure his supply and retreat route through Dervanakia Pass. Second, he ignores the fact that the Ottoman fleet is not at Nafplion, where he planned to meet it. The fleet is at Patras. No naval resupply. He is cut off. 11th of July. Argos. Dramali finds the citadel of Larissa manned by Greeks under Demetrios Ypsilantis. He should retreat to Corinth immediately, where he can draw supplies from Patras. Instead, he launches an attack on the citadel. Ypsilantis holds out for 12 days. When Ottoman envoys demand surrender, the prince receives them with apparent indifference, serves them from his own table, declares he will hold out for 6 months. Night of August 3rd. No water left. Ypsilantis sneaks his men out past Ottoman lines in darkness. Greeks escape. Ottomans plunder the castle the next day. Dramali is now free to march to the coast for resupply. But the plain south of Argos is a trap. Ditches everywhere. Interconnected water lanes. Vineyards that hinder cavalry, but perfect for snipers. Summer of 1822 is brutal. Spring had little rainfall. Most wells and streams around Argos dried up. Dramali's army has no more cattle. The Greeks burned the grain fields, destroyed what they could not carry, damaged wells and springs, scorched earth, day by day. Ottoman soldiers search for water and fodder for horses and baggage animals. Greek irregulars skirmish with them constantly. Other Greek bands infiltrate the mountains overlooking the plains. Dramali is trapped in sweltering heat without food or water. This is where Theodoros Kolokotronis enters. Born April 3rd, 1770, on a mountain in Messenia. Baptized in Piana, family of Klefts. Warrior bandits who fought Ottomans. Father Konstantinos fought in the Orlov Revolt, killed 1780 with 2 of his brothers in combat with Turkish troops. Theodoros, at age 10, forced to flee with family to Mani. By 15, he leads his own Klept band. 1805, joins Russian Navy during Russo-Turkish War. 1806, Ottoman attacks force him to Zakynthos. When British occupy the island, he serves in 1st Regiment Greek Light Infantry under Richard Church. Promoted to Major 1810, learns military discipline. Adopts his characteristic red helmet from British service. When the revolution breaks out in 1821, he is ready. If you value documented military history and revolutionary tactics like this, subscribe. It is the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from Douglas Dakin's The Greek Struggle for Independence, 1821 to 1833, published by University of California Press in 1973, and the detailed battle analysis in the Edinburgh History of the Greeks, 1768 to 1913, by Thomas Gallant from Edinburgh University Press, 2015. These are specialized academic sources with access to Ottoman and Greek military archives. Now back to the information. Early July 1822, news reaches the Greeks. Dramali is coming with 30,000 men. Government officials panic. Many leaders fail to cooperate. Infighting weakens preparation. At this critical moment, Kolokotronis stands up. He declares a pan-army, calls for volunteers. Within days, 5,000 troops assemble at the fortified mills of Lerna. Others gather at points on the marshy banks of the river Eresinos. Greek bands daily skirmish with Ottomans, searching for water and fodder. On the hills, extending from Lerna to Dervanakia, Kolokotronis concentrates no less than 8,000 men. He is appointed archistrategos, commander-in-chief. His strategy is simple and deadly. Occupy strategic positions in Argolida. Most important is Larissa, the ancient acropolis of Argos. Second, apply scorched-earth tactics. Create acute food problems for invaders. Third, trap Dramali in the Argolis plain. The Greeks already looted villages where inhabitants fled. Now they command the defiles. Burn all grain and forage they cannot take away. Damage wells and springs. The Ottoman army, 24,000 infantrymen and 6,000 cavalry, begins to starve in the summer heat. Ypsilantis defends Larissa Castle for 12 days. His mission is not to win, but to buy time. Give Kolokotronis the hours needed to recruit and concentrate Greek troops. The defenders suffer from food and water shortages, but they succeed. They keep Dramali in Argos. Dramali wastes precious time with the multi-day siege. His men are trapped. Food supplies exhausted. No possibility of resupply. The Greek fleet, under Admiral Andreas Miaoulis, successfully blockades Nafplion. Dramali's supply fleet cannot land. He realizes his situation, surrounded, starving. He must retreat to Corinth, July 20th, village of Miloi in the Argolis plain. Headquarters of Greek fighters, irregulars congregate, war council convenes, Kolokotronis proposes to encircle the Turks. Decision made, trap the enemy in Argolis plain, secure Dervanakia narrows, place strong defenses at Ala Ducambos and Miloi. Simultaneously, raise the siege of Larissa Castle. Evening of July 23rd, Greek units ordered to attack the besieged fortress from all sides. During the melee, the besieged escape and join the rest of Greek units. Mission accomplished. July 26th, Dramali decides to retreat to Corinth. Moves toward Dervanakia, the narrow defile linking Argolis to the Corinthian plain. Based on Kolokotronis' plan, the main passage is guarded by his son Antonios Kolokotronis with about 1,500 men. Chieftain Platutus with 800 men positioned in Shinohori to guard the northwest exit to Stymphalia. Nikitaras and Papaflessis at Stephani and Agianori with another 800 men guard the third defile to Clania. 3 exits, all covered. The trap is set. Day before battle. Kolokotronis climbs the roof of a home. Faces his fighters. The speech is recorded by historian Phokakos. He begins, "Greeks, today we are born, and today we will die for the salvation of our homeland and for ourselves." He continues, "Today, the one of us who will be facing many, you will get a lot of spoils, and treasure of Ali Pasha you will share by the fez full, and while the Turks have it, it is Christian money. The men listen. Tomorrow they will prove his words." Morning of July 26th, Dramali dispatches an advance guard. 1,000 Muslim Albanians ordered to occupy the passes. These troops, either mistaken by Greeks for allies or deliberately allowed to pass, get through entirely unharmed, lose only 3 men, but the cavalry following to occupy Dervanakia meets different fate. Body of Dramali's cavalry attempts to secure the pass. Nikitaras intercepts them at village of Agios Vasilis, routs them completely. This victory earns Nikitaras the name Turkophagos, Turk Eater. Very few Ottoman delis, light cavalry, manage to escape. Most lose their horses. Try to make their way on foot, up ravines of mountains. Almost all intercepted by small Greek bands, shot down by individual marksmen from concealed positions. The battlefield becomes a killing ground. Greeks take enormous booty, hundreds of horses and baggage animals, considerable quantity of treasure, arms, stores. When darkness falls, the Turks stop, return to Tiryns where they set up camp. Losses on July 26th, cross-referencing memoirs, news, documents of the time, estimated at 2,500 to 3,000 dead and wounded. One day, one pass, 3,000 casualties. 2 days later, July 28th, Dramali attempts to evacuate main forces through route at Agianori, finds Greeks under Papaflessis, holding the main defile, the Klissura. Few Ottomans head toward Quartz Plain. Main bulk retreats with great losses. This passage well guarded by Greeks. Vanguard and main body turn to second nearby passage, Agios Sostis, east of main crossing. More uphill, more difficult for infantry and animals. Turks find it defenseless, begin moving toward Corteza. Unit of Antonios Kolokotronis flanks them. Meanwhile, unit under Nikitaras and Papaflessis, alerted by smoke signals that Dramali is moving, regroups, marches swiftly, arrives in afternoon at summit to the east, above Agios Sostis, sees Turks going toward Cortesa, attacks immediately, places them between two fires. New arrivals from east, troops of Antonios Kolokotronis from west. Battle lasts until late at night. Turks sustain terrible losses in fighters, animals, materials. Soon, destruction of Dramali becomes song and legend in Greek folk songs. The bays of Rumeli and the warriors of Marius in Dervanakia lie as headless corpses. The destruction is completed at Battle of Agianorion. Out of 30,000 soldiers who entered the Morea with Dramali, only 6,000 returned to Corinth, 24,000 casualties. Entire treasury lost, most baggage and equipment trapped in pass, massacred. Dramali barely escapes with his bodyguard, reaches Corinth a broken man, born around 1770 in Istanbul, son of Halil Mehmet Bey, Siladar Aga. Grandson, through his mother, Zeynep Sultan of Sultan Ahmed III, related to Muhammad Ali of Egypt, raised and educated at Topkapi Palace, participated in various campaigns throughout empire, rose to rank of vizier, acquired significant military skills, enjoyed patronage of Valide Sultan, posted in home province of Drama, succeeded father as governor. 1820, Pasha of Larissa, participated in army against rebel Ali Pasha. After disgrace and death of Hursid Pasha, took over as Mora Velisi with task of destroying Greek revolt. He assembled the army, led the campaign, made the mistakes, ignored advice, left flanks exposed, did not secure retreat, and now he faces consequence. October 26, 1822, Corinth. Mahmud Dramali Pasha dies. Some sources say high fever, others say broken from defeat. The campaign that started with confidence ends in complete disaster. The extent of defeat enters modern Greek language as proverb, inila to Dramali, Dramali's fiasco, used to denote complete disaster. His descendants live today in Egypt and Turkey, but in Greece? The name means annihilation. With destruction of main Ottoman force present in Greece at the time, revolution survives its first great test, firmly established. December 1822. Naflion finally surrenders to Greeks. They make it provisional capital. Part of destroyed Dramali's army, about 3,000 Dawir, decides to move toward Patras. Near Vostitsa, Andreas Londos with his men attacks them. Only a few escape. Victory at Dervanakia makes Kolokotronis' reputation. British historian Thomas Gordon writes, his name became a sort of talisman. The people everywhere sung ballads in his honor. His political adversaries humbled themselves before him, and for some months he was absolute in the Morea. But Greek cause will quickly unravel. Factional conflict breaks out in 1823. Kolokotronis' popularity makes him target for political enemies. They unite against the most popular man in Greece, Kolokotronis himself, arguably Greece's ablest military leader, imprisoned by enemies in Palamidi. At the same time, Sultan acknowledges inability to deal with Greek problem, turns to Muhammad Ali of Egypt and his Western-trained armies for help. 1825, Ibrahim Pasha arrives. Kolokotronis released from prison, appointed commander-in-chief of Greek forces in Peloponnese. Recognition of his military skill and services to Greek cause. He decides not to confront Ibrahim in open field battle. Uses guerrilla tactics, scorched-earth policy again, limited resources, cannot prevent widespread destruction. Ibrahim leaves, but he fights on. The battle reveals something deeper than tactics. Dervanakia is asymmetric warfare perfected. Small mobile forces against large conventional army, knowledge of terrain against numerical superiority, patience against overconfidence. Greeks understand the land, every pass, every spring, every cliff where a marksman can hide. Ottomans march through alien landscape, rely on supply lines that do not exist, trust naval support that never arrives, ignore local advice. Dramali had Yusuf Pasha telling him to build position at Corinth first. He rejects it. Confidence becomes arrogance. Arrogance becomes tomb. Numbers tell the story but do not explain it. 30,000 men entering, 6,000 leaving, 24,000 casualties without major pitched battle. This is not Thermopylae where Spartans stand and die heroically. This is something else. Methodical, calculated. Greeks do not fight Ottoman strength. They eliminate Ottoman weaknesses. Water, food, escape routes, morale, time. Every day Dramali sits in Argos. His army weakens. Every well poisoned, his soldiers thirst. Every grain field burned. His horses starve. When he finally moves to retreat, the Greeks are waiting, not in open plain where Ottoman cavalry can charge, in narrow passes where numbers mean nothing and position means everything. Kolokotronis learned from Russian and British service, regular military discipline, chain of command, coordinated operations, but he adapts it to irregular warfare, Klepts do not stand in formation. They ambush, they skirmish, they withdraw, they return. Kolokotronis takes their natural fighting style and adds structure, creates war council, assigns positions, uses smoke signals for communication, guards multiple exits. His son Antonios at main pass, Platutus at northwest exit, Nikitaras and Papaflessus at third defile. Each commander knows his role, each position supports the others. When Ottomans try main pass, hit from front. When they try alternate route, hit from flanks. When they bunch up in confusion, hit from elevated positions. No escape, no mercy. The scorched earth policy is not new, used by Scythians against Persians, Russians against Napoleon. But in Argolis, it is executed with precision. Greeks know exactly what Dramali needs. Water in summer heat, fodder for thousands of horses, grain for 24,000 soldiers. They deny all of it, systematically. Village by village, well by well, field by field. Ottoman army designed for conquest finds nothing to conquer. Designed for occupation finds nothing to occupy. Designed to intimidate finds enemy that will not be intimidated. Instead, it finds itself occupying burning plain with no food, no water, and enemies all around. Ypsilantis' defense of Larissa Castle is masterclass in economy of force. He has a small garrison, limited supplies, no hope of victory, but he does not need to win. He needs to delay. Every day he holds out, Kolokotronis gains strength. Recruits arrive, positions fortified, plans refined. When Ypsilantis finally evacuates night of August 3rd, his mission is complete. Dramali wasted 12 days on siege that accomplished nothing. 12 days his army consumed dwindling supplies. 12 days Greek forces prepared. When Citadel falls, it is hollow victory. Strategic window closed, trap ready. The geography itself becomes weapon. Argolis Plain is not open battlefield. It is maze, ditches, water lanes, vineyards, terrain that breaks up cavalry formations, perfect for skirmishers. Mountains overlook plain from all sides. Greeks occupy high ground. Ottomans stuck below in heat. Every movement observed. Every column ambushed. Supplies cannot reach them. Reinforcements cannot find them. Communication with Corinth difficult. Dramali makes camp, but camp becomes prison. Plain becomes killing ground. Mountains become walls. Passes become gates. And Greeks hold keys. When Ottomans finally attempt retreat, they face accumulated consequences of every mistake. No guards left at Dervanakia when they advanced. Now Greeks control it. No forces posted at other defiles. Now all exits covered. No secured supply line. Now cut off completely. No naval support. Now blockaded by Greek fleet. Army that marched south, confident now, scrambles north, desperate. Advance was parade. Retreat is nightmare. Difference between them measured in corpses. Nikitaras earns name Turcophagos at village of Agios Vasilis. Ottoman cavalry charges to secure a pass. Meets withering fire from concealed positions. Routes completely. Few escape. Most lose mounts, try to flee on foot, hunted down, shot from hiding. The nickname Turk Eater is not metaphor. It is description. He consumes Ottoman forces, battle after battle, pass after pass. July 26th at Agios Vasilis. July 28th at Agianori. Each time, Ottoman forces meet him. Each time, most do not leave. His reputation grows with body count. Papaflessus holds main defile at Klissura when Dramali tries Agianori route. Not just holds, dominates. Ottomans cannot break through, cannot flank, cannot retreat back to plain, stuck in narrow space with Greeks firing from above. Classic ambush, ancient tactic, perfect execution. Few Ottomans escape toward Cortissa, most die and pass. Those who find alternate route at Agios Sostis think they found safety. Antonios Kolokotronis flanks them. Then Nikitaras and Papaflessus arrive. Smoke signals coordinate movement. Greeks close from east and west. Ottomans trapped again. Between two fires, battle lasts until night. When darkness finally ends it, Ottoman loss is terrible. Fighters, animals, materials, all gone. Numbers from primary sources cross-referenced. Greek accounts, Ottoman records, European observers, all converge on same conclusion. 30,000 men entered Morea with Dramali. 6,000 returned. Math is simple. 24,000 dead, wounded, captured, or missing. Most died in passes, some in plain from starvation and thirst, others hunted down during retreat. Small number captured. Treasury worth fortune lost. Hundreds of horses taken as booty. Baggage animals seized. Arms and stores distributed among Greek fighters. Ottoman expeditionary force ceased to exist as fighting entity. Impact immediate and profound. Revolution was 1 year old. Many European powers expected Ottomans to crush it quickly. Dramali's expedition was that attempt, largest Ottoman army in Greece in over a century. Veteran troops, modern equipment, ample supplies, clear mission, but it met not rabble of disorganized rebels. It met Theodoros Kolokotronis, man who learned warfare from 3 empires: Russian Navy, British Army. Ottoman clefts combined lessons into something none of them taught: Greek irregular warfare with European military structure, hit and run tactics with coordinated strategy, individual initiative with collective purpose. Sultan Mahmud II in Constantinople receives news, and devastated, forced to turn to Muhammad Ali, ruler of nominally Ottoman Pashalik of Egypt, asks for help. Muhammad Ali agrees but demands price. His son Ibrahim Pasha will lead expedition. Egypt will receive Crete as appanage. Deal made. Ibrahim arrives 1825, fresh from fighting Wahhabi rebels in Arabia, used to fighting guerrillas, troops armed with modern equipment, trained by European experts, burns his way through Peloponnese, gains territory, arouses hostility in Western European public opinion, in long run proves disastrous for Ottomans. But that is later. In 1822, after Dervanakia, Greeks control narrative. Rebellion becomes revolution. Survival becomes victory. Memory becomes legend. Victory eats its own children. The ashes of Dramali's army are still cooling in the Dervanakia Pass when the Greek Revolution turns on itself. The year is 1823. The leaders who united against the Turk now fight for power. Theodoros Kolokotronis. The man who engineered the victory, the hero of the Morea, finds himself the enemy of the state he saved. Political factions, island hydras against Peloponnesian chieftains, tear the cause apart. The First Greek Civil War erupts. By 1824, it is followed by a second. While Greeks kill Greeks, Kolokotronis is arrested, accused of treason by the government he defied to save. February 1825. They lock him in the Palamidi fortress at Nafplion, the very city his victory secured. He can see the Argolic plain from his cell, the lands he freed. He sees his enemies squander the freedom he bought with Ottoman blood. In Constantinople, Sultan Mahmud II understands. The Greek problem is beyond his viziers and pashas. His armies are antiquated. His janissaries are a corrupt, rebellious tumor on the state. He needs a modern force, a ruthless commander. He needs someone who does not fail. He turns his gaze south to Egypt, to his most powerful, ambitious, and dangerous vassal, Muhammad Ali, an ethnic Albanian born in Kavala, a man who rose from obscurity to become the undisputed master of Egypt. He has spent 2 decades building a new state, a new economy, and a new army. An army trained by French officers, veterans of Napoleon's campaigns, an army equipped with modern artillery, an army of disciplined Egyptian fellahin who obey orders, who march in formation, who do not break and run. The Sultan makes the offer: crush the Greek revolt. In return, your son will be governor of the Morea. You will receive Crete. Muhammad Ali agrees. He has the perfect instrument for the task: his son, Ibrahim Pasha. Ibrahim is not Dramali. He is not an Ottoman aristocrat leading a feudal host. He is a modern general. Born 1789, he fought Wahhabi rebels in the deserts of Arabia, learning the hard way how to combat guerrilla forces. He oversaw the modernization of the Egyptian army under European tutors like Colonel Sev, a French officer who converted to Islam and became known as Soliman Pasha al-Faransawi. Ibrahim's army is not a collection of cavalrymen seeking plunder. It is an integrated military machine: 44 warships, over 300 transport vessels, 17,000 men, well-drilled infantry, modern cavalry, a powerful artillery train. They do not expect an easy victory. They expect to earn it, and they know how. Ibrahim does not make Dramali's mistakes. He will secure his supply lines. He will use his navy. He will not be trapped in a plane. He will burn the plane himself. February 24th, 1825. Ibrahim's fleet appears off the coast of Messenia in the southwestern Peloponnese. He lands his army at Methone, unopposed. The Greek government is in the middle of a civil war. They have imprisoned their best general. The local chieftains are disorganized, their forces scattered. Ibrahim does not wait. He marches on the port of Pylos. The key to the bay is the small, rocky island of Sphacteria, an island famous since the Peloponnesian War. Here, a small Greek force under Alexandros Mavrokordatos makes a stand, April the 26th. Ibrahim's fleet bombards the island. His disciplined infantry land in waves under covering fire. The Greeks fight bravely but are overwhelmed. It is a slaughter. Mavrokordatos barely escapes. A few weeks later, the fortress of Navarino on the mainland falls. Ibrahim has secured a deep-water port and a strong base of operations. The news hits Nafplion like a cannonball. The politicians who celebrated Kolokotronis' imprisonment now face a terror Dramali could only dream of. They panic. The government convenes in desperation. There's only one name on their lips, the man in the cell overlooking the bay, Kolokotronis. They send a delegation to the Palamidi. They offer him freedom. They offer him command. They beg him to save Greece again. He listens. He has been betrayed, imprisoned by these men. But his homeland is burning. He agrees. Not for them. For the revolution. May 17th, 1825, Theodoros Kolokotronis is released from prison and appointed commander-in-chief of the Greek forces in the Peloponnese. The old man of the Morea is back. But the enemy is different now. The game has changed. If you value this deep dive into the turning points of revolutions, subscribe to our channel. Your support allows us to continue this work. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. This account is built from primary sources, cross-referencing the memoirs of Greek fighters like Photikos, Ibrahim's own campaign reports, and the definitive modern analysis found in David Brewer's The Greek War of Independence, The Struggle for Freedom from Ottoman Oppression, published by Overlook Press in 2001, and George Finlay's 19th century masterpiece, History of the Greek Revolution. Now, back to the war. Kolokotronis knows he cannot face Ibrahim in open battle. Sphacteria proved that the Egyptian army is a meat grinder. To fight it on its own terms is suicide. He must revert to the old ways, the ways of the klept. He must make the land itself the weapon. His strategy is the same one he used against Dramali, but more desperate, more total. Scorched earth, avoid pitched battles at all costs. Attack supply lines, ambush foraging parties, let the Egyptians take the towns, let them hold the forts, but make them starve within the walls. Make every step they take outside a potential death sentence. He issues a proclamation: burn the villages, destroy the crops, poison the wells, drive the livestock into the mountains, leave nothing for the enemy but rock and dust. It is a brutal, heart-wrenching order. He's asking his people to destroy their own homes to save their nation. While Kolokotronis organizes his guerrilla campaign in the Morea, the epicenter of Greek resistance is 200 miles to the north, a small town surrounded by lagoons, Missolonghi. It has already survived 2 Ottoman sieges, but in April 1825, a massive Ottoman army under Reshid Mehmed Pasha, the Grand Vizier, arrives to begin a 3rd siege. For a full year, the town holds out. The defenders, numbering less than 4,000, face an army of over 20,000. They endure constant bombardment. They repel assault after assault. The Greek fleet, under the command of Andreas Miaoulis, breaks through the naval blockade multiple times, bringing precious food and ammunition. The siege of Missolonghi becomes a symbol for the entire Christian world. Lord Byron had died there of a fever in 1824, cementing its place in the European imagination. Philhellenic committees in Paris, London, and Geneva raise funds. Volunteers travel to fight for the Greek cause. But in the winter of 1825, Ibrahim Pasha, having largely subdued the Morea, receives orders from the Sultan. He is to march north and finish the job at Missolonghi. He arrives in January 1826 with 10,000 fresh, disciplined troops. The town is now besieged by 2 armies. The fate of Missolonghi is sealed. By April, the defenders are starving. There is no hope of relief. They make a desperate decision. They will attempt a breakout, an exodus. The plan is to break through the enemy lines at night, with the women and children in the center, and escape to the mountains. Night of April 10th, 1826, the final communion is held. The defenders divide into 3 groups. A bridge of planks is thrown across the main moat. The signal is given. They charge into the darkness, but they have been betrayed. A Bulgarian deserter has warned the Egyptians. Ibrahim is waiting. His troops open fire from all sides. It is a massacre. The bridge collapses. The narrow path becomes a killing field. Men, women, and children are cut down by musket fire and sabers. Of the roughly 7,000 people who attempt the breakout, less than 2,000 make it to safety. The next morning, Ibrahim's army enters the ruined town. The Greeks who remained, the sick and the wounded, blow themselves up with gunpowder rather than surrender. The fall of Missolonghi sends a shockwave across Europe. The heroic resistance and the final tragic slaughter ignite public opinion. The outcry against Ottoman and Egyptian barbarity becomes a roar. The governments of Europe can no longer ignore it. Back in the Peloponnese, Kolokotronis continues his guerrilla war. He cannot stop Ibrahim, but he can bleed him. He harasses him. He denies him a decisive victory. Ibrahim, infuriated by the endless war of attrition, unleashes a campaign of terror. His orders are clear: depopulate the Morea. His soldiers sweep across the peninsula. They burn what they cannot eat. They cut down the ancient olive groves that are the lifeblood of the local economy. They systematically destroy villages, and they begin a massive slave trade. Thousands of Greek men, women, and children are captured, rounded up, and shipped to the slave markets of Alexandria. Ibrahim's plan, reported to European ambassadors, is to replace the Greek population with Egyptian and Sudanese peasants. It is a policy of ethnic cleansing. This barbarization policy is the final straw. It is one thing to suppress a rebellion. It is another to systematically exterminate a Christian population. The great powers, Great Britain, France, and Russia, are forced to act. Their motives are mixed. Russia sees itself as the protector of Orthodox Christians and desires to weaken the Ottoman Empire. France wants to reassert its influence in the Levant. Britain, under Foreign Secretary George Canning, wants to prevent a unilateral Russian intervention and stabilize the region to protect its trade routes. Public pressure and strategic interests converge. July 6, 1827, the three powers sign the Treaty of London. They demand an immediate armistice between the Greeks and the Ottomans and offer to mediate a settlement that would grant Greece autonomy under Ottoman suzerainty. They agree to send a combined naval fleet to the region to enforce their decision. The treaty has a secret clause. If the Ottomans refuse the armistice, the Allied admirals are authorized to use any means necessary to prevent the movement of Egyptian and Turkish forces. It is a license to go to war. The Ottomans, confident after the fall of Missolonghi and Ibrahim's successes, reject the ultimatum. The stage is set for a confrontation. In October 1827, a massive Ottoman-Egyptian fleet is anchored in the Bay of Navarino, the very place Ibrahim had secured his first victory. It is a formidable force, 3 ships of the line, 15 frigates, 26 corvettes, and dozens of smaller vessels, over 80 warships in total, under the command of Ibrahim Pasha. They are preparing to ferry troops for a final, decisive campaign to crush the last remnants of Greek resistance. Opposing them is the Allied fleet, a smaller, but qualitatively superior force, 11 British ships of the line and frigates under Vice Admiral Sir Edward Codrington, 8 French ships under Admiral Henri de Rigny, 8 Russian ships under Admiral Lodewijk van Heyden, 27 capital ships in total, but with heavier guns and better trained crews. Codrington, the Allied commander, has his orders: enforce the armistice, peacefully if possible. On October 20th, 1827, he leads the Allied fleet into the Bay of Navarino. His intention is not to fight, but to make a show of force, to anchor his fleet alongside the Ottomans and intimidate them into compliance. The Ottoman Egyptian ships are anchored in a tight, 3-deep crescent formation, their guns ready. It is a powder keg. The Allied ships move slowly, deliberately, into the bay and drop anchor. The tension is unbearable. Cannoneers stand by their guns. Marines line the rails, muskets in hand. Admiral Codrington sends a small boat with a message to the Turkish flagship. An Ottoman vessel fires on the boat, killing the British officer carrying the message. A nearby British frigate, the Dartmouth, returns fire to cover the boat's retreat. On the other side of the bay, the French flagship, the Serein, is fired upon by an Egyptian corvette. The French return fire. Suddenly, a single cannon shot echoes across the bay, then another, and then the entire Allied fleet unleashes a devastating, simultaneous broadside. The Battle of Navarino has begun. It is not a battle of maneuver. It is a close range, brutal slugging match inside a confined bay. The superior gunnery and discipline of the Allied crews is immediately apparent. Their broadsides are faster, more accurate, and more powerful. They tear through the wooden hulls of the Ottoman and Egyptian ships. Fires break out across the enemy fleet. One by one, Ottoman vessels are dismasted, shattered, and sunk. A massive Egyptian frigate explodes in a ball of fire, sending debris raining down across the bay. The smoke is so thick that sailors can barely see the ship next to them, aiming only at the muzzle flashes in the gloom. For 4 hours, the slaughter continues. By sunset, the battle is over. The Bay of Navarino is a graveyard of ships. Of the 89 Ottoman Egyptian warships that greeted the dawn, over 60 are sunk, burned, or beached. Not a single vessel is seaworthy. 6,000 of their sailors are dead. The Allied fleet, by contrast, has not lost a single ship. Their casualties are less than 200 killed. It is one of the most one-sided naval victories in history. The news of Navarino is a thunderclap. In London, Admiral Codrington is reprimanded for his aggression. The battle is called an untoward event, but the consequences are irreversible. Ibrahim Pasha and his army are now stranded in the Peloponnese. His navy is gone. He has no way to receive supplies or reinforcements from Egypt. He has no way to leave. The Greek War of Independence has been decided. not in a mountain pass by clefts, but on the water by the great powers of Europe. The fighting is not over. The French send an expeditionary force in 1828 to supervise the evacuation of the Egyptian army. Kolokotronis continues to wage his guerrilla war, liberating the last Ottoman strongholds in the Morea, but the outcome is no longer in doubt. The Battle of Navarino broke the back of Ottoman power in Greece. Diplomacy completes the process. In 1832, the Treaty of Constantinople officially recognizes Greece as a sovereign, independent kingdom. Theodoros Kolokotronis, the klept from Messenia, lives to see his nation free. He had faced down the feudal host of Dramali Pasha and broken it with strategy. He had faced down the modern army of Ibrahim Pasha and bled it with persistence. He had been celebrated as a hero and imprisoned as a traitor. He survived it all. After independence, he became a revered figure, the living embodiment of the struggle, known to all as O Geros tu Morea, the old man of the Morea. His victory at Dervanakia saved the revolution in its infancy. His guerrilla war against Ibrahim bought the precious time needed for Europe to intervene. He did not fight for politics or for glory. He fought for a simple, impossible idea, a free Greece, and in the end, against all odds, he won.